In Matthew chapter 23, Jesus pointed some sharp words towards his opponents, the Pharisees. But notice he criticized them not for their place in the Jewish community as leaders, but for their leadership style. His comments covered three areas: poor example, lust for prestige, and the implicit temptation to become an expert. He used this critique as a counterbalance to his vision for Christian leadership. First, Jesus affirmed the place of the Pharisees as experts of the law. He insisted that Jewish Christians heed their rulings, but criticized both their example and their legality. Basically, he charged them with the adage, "Do as I say, not as I do." He also chided them for being too legalistic. They had far more rules and regulations to protect the integrity of the Jewish law than necessary. And the overwhelming focus on the law took away from the necessity for mercy. The law served the people, not vice versa. Next, Jesus charged the Pharisees with inflating their egos. They wanted to widen their phylacteries and lengthen the fringes on their tunics. They desired to sit next to the host at a banquet or to teach from the chair of Moses, the place of instruction in the synagogue. And they loved to be greeted with the salutation, "Rabbi." Notice again, Jesus didn't criticize the fact they stood out in leaders' clothing, but the fact that many heightened that effect. In Jewish communities, especially those outside of Judea, the faithful needed leaders to set an example to the believer. And because the people insisted on living together away from the Gentiles, the leaders stood as intermediaries between the enclave and the Roman officials. Unique dress, like that of a policeman's uniform, identified the leader and his function. Thus, this clothing had a necessary function to insiders and outsiders. Jesus called out those who used the uniform to draw unnecessary attention to themselves. Finally, Jesus indirectly chided many Pharisees for claiming to be experts, answerable to no one else. He did this by instructing his followers not to use three titles for elders in the Christian community: Master or Lord, Father, and Head Teacher. The title Master or Lord denoted deference to a social superior. It was the equivalent to the word Sir in American English. For those in the United States, one uses the term as a sign of respect, but in the time of Jesus, one used the title for a person in a higher class. The title Father denoted more than just a biological relationship. One could use the term for an ancestor or significant male in one's life, like a clan patriarch. The title Head Teacher denoted a relationship between a professor and his student. Notice the way Jesus in Matthew's Gospel used language to make his point. He painted those titles with a broad brush, taking the terms to their logical extreme. Reflect on the roles you might play in your life. Are you a parent? A teacher or coach? Do you use titles to treat others with respect? Try to live in a world where no one would address you as dad or mom, teacher or coach. Try to get away without using language to show respect to others. Obviously, Jesus did not insist that we live in such a world. Instead, he wanted his disciples to look beyond to their Lord and Father in heaven, to their ultimate teacher in the Christ. There was no room for cult of personality in the church. Jesus went on this diatribe to make a point. True leadership requires humility. It demands example, not just mere words. The good leader lives and works with his people, not apart or above those in his charge. We should note one last caveat to this passage. In Matthew, Jesus used extreme language to charge all Pharisees with self-importance, but we should realize 2 points. First, he had followers among the Pharisees and the scribes during his lifetime. Second, most Pharisees were not self-absorbed egotists. But by the time Matthew wrote his gospel in the 80s or 90s AD, Pharisees had excommunicated Christians, ejecting them from the synagogues throughout the Roman Empire. Matthew's gospel was tinged with polemics. This passage reflected that reality. Good leaders inspire not only productivity, but camaraderie. Great leaders infuse their groups with a sense of family, brotherhood, and sisterhood, drawn together for the good of each other. Such leaders aren't afraid to roll up their sleeves and work alongside others, even those of the lowest rank. Great people lead by example and create an environment in which the workers see themselves as a team of equals. This is solidarity at its finest. The virtue of solidarity demands a sense of equality and fairness. In the face of that virtue, good leadership should strive for humility. On a social level, civic leaders should inspire equity in the distribution of wealth and the reality of a living wage. This doesn't mean all people receive the same pay. It does mean that everyone, especially those whom God blesses with wealth, care for society, even the poor. Such humility and concern for others creates an environment where social tensions can and should be negotiated in good faith. The virtue of solidarity reaches beyond the pocketbook or the demands for rights. It's an arena where people can grow in spiritual and moral values. When I truly care for others, their growth as people becomes my own concern and the agenda of society as a whole. It's not a matter of ego, but a matter of the common good.